The first time Fern Alcott asked me for anything, I knocked an entire tray of unfired greenware off the drying rack, and I want to be clear that I am not typically a clumsy person. I review structural and civil engineering plans for a living. I find other people's errors in blueprints. I catch load-bearing walls that are 12 millimeters off from where they should be. But Fern said my name from across the room. Not hey, not excuse me, my actual name, and my arm apparently stopped being attached to my body. My name is Aaron Hewitt. I'm 30 years old. I work as a plan review engineer for the city of Portland, which means I spend 8 hours a day reading drawings other people made and finding everything they got wrong, which is either a useful profession or a grim one, depending on the week. On Saturday mornings, I drove to the Tillamook Street Ceramic Studio and attempted to make things with my hands for 2 hours instead of just critiquing things other people made. It was my therapist's suggestion, which tells you something about my therapist and also something about me. I had been in the Saturday morning session for 9 weeks before Fern and I actually spoke. She was 27, maybe 28, with short auburn hair she always had tucked behind both ears because she couldn't stand anything touching her face when she was working. She arrived every Saturday at 9:10, not 9, not 9:15. She had a spot at the second wheel from the left and kept her tools in a specific arrangement that I had noticed because I noticed everything about her and had decided to feel professionally detached about that. She threw cylinders that were actually cylindrical. Most people's cylinders looked like off-brand traffic cones. Fern's looked like something from a catalog. I had watched her correct the instructor, politely, with evidence, about a firing temperature that was 25 degrees low, and she was right. I had watched her help the retired nurse in the back corner with her centering technique without making her feel like she needed help. I had watched her eat a granola bar between sessions with the calm efficiency of someone who had 12 minutes and intended to use 10 of them. She was something. The least interesting part of that was how she looked. The more interesting part was that she was completely uninterested in whether anyone was watching. The Tuesday she spoke to me, she was in the studio for an evening open session. Unusual, because I had never seen her on a Tuesday before, and I had been noticing. She was working on something large, and the wall on the left side was drifting thicker than the right. Not failing, Fern didn't publicly fail at things, but there was a set to her jaw that said the piece wasn't behaving. She looked across the room. "You're Aaron, right?" I was holding a trimming tool. I set it down with more precision than the moment required. "Yeah." Saturday session, Beth's group. 9 weeks. She tilted her head slightly. "You never said anything." "I said things. To people at your wheel. I'm not loud." She studied me for a second, not unkindly, just the way she looked at a piece before she decided whether it was worth the time. "Come look at something." She didn't phrase it as a question. I went over anyway. The wall issue was fixable. Pull from inside, reduce water, steady pressure instead of rushing the height, I told her. She tried it, watched the clay respond, and then looked at me with an expression that was not quite a smile, but was in that direction. "You know ceramics," she said. "I know physics. Ceramics is physics with more forgiveness." That's either a good line or the most engineer thing I've ever heard. Those aren't mutually exclusive. This time she did smile, fast then gone, like she was rationing them. I went back to my wheel. 3 weeks later, on a Saturday, she was standing at the glaze station next to me when she said, without looking up, "I need to ask you something strange." My brush stopped. "My family thinks I've been seeing someone," she said. "My sister has been trying to set me up with her husband's golf friend for 4 months. In October, I told her I was already with someone." She didn't stop. She adjusted. "Now my mom's birthday dinner is next Saturday, and Kit will be there, and apparently Bryce is coming too. Because my sister has no operating concept of a hint." I put my brush down. "Bryce. He sends my sister photos of golf courses with commentary bubbles about the elevation. She forwards them to me as selling points. And the person you've been seeing." Fern finally looked at me, tired and steady, "has not yet materialized." That's a specific kind of problem. "I'm asking if you'd come to my mother's birthday dinner Saturday and be the person I've been describing. What have you been describing? She picked her brush back up. Someone calm, doesn't talk much but means it when he does, works with his hands. A beat, knows things. I review plans, I don't build anything. You're here every Saturday. I looked at the bowl drying beside me. Competent, structurally sound. Not beautiful, but not wrong. Probably the most accurate summary of me I had available at the time. How many people at dinner? 7. My parents, my sister and her husband, their mother-in-law who is genuinely pleasant, my Aunt Helen who will ask about your retirement plan in the first 20 minutes, and now, theoretically, you. Your aunt opens with retirement plans? She retired at 53. It's a lifestyle she proselytizes. I have a 401k and I just opened a Roth IRA. Fern looked at me sideways. She is going to love you. I should have said I needed time to think. I should have asked why she was asking me specifically, out of every person she knew. Instead, I said, "What does he look like, Bryce?" She pulled out her phone. A man in a polo shirt stood in front of a course flag with the particular smile of someone who had been told to smile and had done the minimum. "Your competition," she said. "I'm not competitive." Good. I'm not looking for a competition. I'm looking for someone to get through one dinner without my family deciding my personal life needs emergency management. I looked at the photo once more, then at Fern. 7 o'clock? She put her phone away. I'll send the address. A pause. My mother hugs people. I've survived worse. My sister will ask questions. I review documents for inconsistencies for a living. A longer pause, then quieter. Why are you saying yes? I picked up my brush. Because Bryce sends elevation photos, and you deserve better material than that. That's not the real reason. No, I said it's not. She didn't push. She turned back to her work. Her shoulder was close enough to mine that I could have shifted 2 inches and closed the distance. I didn't. I'll text you the address, she said. Okay. We glazed in silence for the rest of the session, and the silence felt different than the 9 weeks before it. Less like two people who hadn't spoken yet. More like two people who had and were still figuring out what to do next. She texted Wednesday, just the address and, dress like yourself, not like a job interview. My dad will trust you more if you look like you're not trying. Then after a pause, do you like lemon cake? Me, yes. Fern, good. She makes it from scratch. She'll ask if you want a second piece. Say yes. Me, any other briefing. Fern, my dad is an electrician. He thinks most office jobs are theater. Explain yours simply. If you can make him see why it matters, he'll respect you. Me, plan review is partly theater. Fern, tell him that. He'll like you. I didn't know what to make of the fact that she wanted her father to like me. I spent most of Friday not thinking about it, which meant I thought about almost nothing else. Saturday, I wore a clean flannel and dark jeans because those were the clothes I owned that looked like I had not considered them. I stopped at a small bakery on Burnside and bought a box of shortbread because I didn't know Fern's mother's preferences. And shortbread was the right kind of thing. Thoughtful, without announcing itself. Fern met me in the lobby of her building at 6:40. Dark slacks, a rust-colored top, hair down for the first time I had ever seen. She looked at the bakery box. You didn't need to bring anything. I'm meeting your parents. It's a constructed situation. They don't know that. She took the box, looked at it, then she looked up. Shortbread. Is that wrong? No, said quietly. It's my mom's favorite. She studied me for a moment. How did you know? I didn't. I guessed. She held the box for another second, then handed it back. You carry it. She'll think you picked it out. I did pick it out. She was already walking toward my car. Her parents lived in Beaverton, 20 minutes west. The house had a porch swing and a hand-painted ceramic frog by the front steps that I was confident Fern had made as a child, though I didn't ask until later. Her mother, Donna, opened the door before we knocked and hugged me within the first 30 seconds, exactly as promised. Her sister Kit was in the kitchen. Same auburn hair as Fern, but longer. Same directness, but faster. She looked between me and Fern with the focused attention of someone running a calculation they didn't want you to know about. Kit, Fern said. This is Aaron. Kit shook my hand and held it a beat longer than a greeting required. Fern mentioned you. Only recently, Fern said, which was also true. Kit's husband, Ray, appeared from the living room and immediately made the room feel easier. He was big and unhurried, and the kind of person who makes everyone feel like they've been at the party longer than they have. He asked about my drive and my opinion on the Blazers season, and then handed me a beer before I had asked for one, which is the correct hosting instinct. Donna called dinner at 7. Fern sat next to me. Once, when she shifted in her chair, her knee touched mine, and I kept my expression where it was with some effort. Her father, Dave, asked what I did within the first 5 minutes. I told him I reviewed structural and civil engineering plans for the city, that my job was to find the things that would fail before they were built, that most of it was desk work, but that the desk work was the part that kept parking garages from collapsing on people. He nodded slowly. So you're the one my electrician friends complain about when permits take 3 weeks. Probably. Good, he said. Someone has to do it. Kit asked how Fern and I met. I said at a ceramics class on Tillamook. She asked how long. I said a few months. She said Fern had been vague. Fern said she didn't love being discussed like she'd left the room. Kit acknowledged this as fair and then asked me 4 more questions about where I grew up, whether I owned or rented, and how long I'd been in Portland. I rented, I said so. Kit filed this somewhere in her expression. Aunt Helen asked about my retirement plan at 7:22, which was 2 minutes outside Fern's estimate. I told her about my 401k and the Roth IRA I had just opened. She looked at me with the genuine warmth of someone whose values have been confirmed. Donna brought out the lemon cake. She offered me a second piece, and I took it. She smiled the slow smile of someone whose hope has just been justified. Then, over coffee, she said, "Aaron, were you seeing anyone before our Fern?" The table went quiet in the way tables do when the question is real. I set down my cup. I could have made a joke. I almost did. But Fern's knee was still against mine, and her face had gone carefully still, and I didn't want to give her a version of me she'd have to edit later. I was with someone for 3 years, I said. It ended about 18 months ago. She said her word was contained, that I didn't let things move me. I think she was right. I don't know if I'd gotten that way or if I'd always been that way and she'd finally stopped being okay with it. The table was quiet. 18 months is time enough, Donna said softly. Long enough to stop using it as a reason to be careful with everything. I said it to Donna, but I was aware of Fern beside me. Under the table, her hand found mine. Not for show, nobody could see. She put her fingers over mine, quiet and deliberate, and left them there. I kept talking to Donna about her garden. The whole time Fern's hand stayed on mine, and when we moved to the living room later and she let it go, it was slow. Like she wasn't quite finished and was making herself anyway. Donna sent us out to the back patio with coffee and the comfortable fiction that we needed air, which is the universal parent language for go talk. We're watching from the window. The patio had string lights and a wind chime that moved when there was no wind. It bothered me more than it should have. You didn't have to say all that, Fern said. I know. About your ex. I know. She turned her cup slowly in both hands. Was it true? That you're trying not to let it make you careful about everything? I looked at the string lights. I'm better at reviewing plans than making them, in most areas. She turned toward me. Can I say something that might complicate things? You're going to say it either way. I asked you because I'd been watching you at the studio for weeks, she said. Not because I needed a warm body in a chair. Because you're the person who stays late to recenter a piece instead of just working around the fact that it's off. Who notices when someone else's cylinder is drifting before they do? I asked you because I thought you'd be honest and you wouldn't need me to manage you. She stopped. And also because Bryce has genuinely bad energy and I had about 40 seconds to make a decision. I laughed before I could stop it. She did too, quietly, and the laugh softened something around her eyes I had only seen suggestions of before. Fern. She looked at me. I have been in that studio every Saturday for 9 weeks, and I have said approximately 40 words to people who were not the instructor. I noticed you on week 1. I kept coming back partly because the ceramics helped, and partly because I was hoping you'd give me a reason to stop watching from across the room. She went quiet, open, in the way that a window gets when you finally get it unstuck. That's a lot to say to someone you're technically pretending with, she said. I know. Why are you saying it? Because I don't want to build something on a wrong measurement. The wind chime moved for no reason. She looked at it, then at me. I don't like calling this fake, she said. My chest did something without my permission. What would you call it? A start, she said, if you want it to be. I set my cup on the railing. Ask me on a real date. She blinked, then slowly a smile, you first. That's not how this works. You've been watching me for 9 weeks. You owe me the ask. There's a pottery night market on Burnside next Friday, I said. Different studios showing work, food, runs until 10. I was planning to go alone. I'd rather not. She looked at me for a moment. That's very specific for something you were planning to do solo. I plan ahead. Night market, she said. Yes. Friday. Yes. A pause. That sounds like something I'd actually like. I know. She tilted her head. How do you know? You stay late on Tuesdays when the studio goes quiet. You eat outside in November. You go to things alone and you're fine with it. But you'd like to go with someone who won't need you to manage them. She looked at me steadily. You've been watching me for 9 weeks. Observing technique. She laughed, sharp and honest and unplanned, and then leaned sideways and let her shoulder rest against mine. Inside, through the kitchen window, Kit caught my eye, looked at Fern's shoulder against mine, and gave a thumbs up with the subtlety of a high-waist sign. Sunday morning, she texted before I'd done anything useful with the day. I told Kit the truth, that we only just started talking. She said she already knew, then. She also wants me to tell you, quote, he's better than Bryce, and I'm not sorry about the creative threat. Me, terms accepted. Fern, there's something else. I sat up. My ex reached out this week, before Saturday. He heard from someone that I'd brought a person to a family thing. I'm not going to meet up with him, but I wanted you to know because I don't want something from before walking into this while I'm pretending it isn't there. I read it twice. Me, how are you feeling about it? Fern, like I thought I'd already closed a door and someone knocked to check. I don't want to open it. I just wanted to tell you because it felt dishonest not to. Me, thank you for telling me. Fern, you're not going to ask about him? Me, not unless you want to tell me. A long pause. Fern, he was good at some things. He was not good at letting me also be good at things. He kept waiting for a version of me that was less. I couldn't find her. Me, I'm not waiting for a different version of you. The dots appeared, disappeared, came back. Fern, that's actually why I'm not calling him back. I held the phone for a while, then, you don't owe me an explanation, but I'm glad. She sent back a single period, which sounds like nothing. But from Fern, who said exactly what she meant and nothing extra, it felt like everything she wasn't quite ready to say out loud yet, held in one small mark. Friday was cold and clear. She met me outside the market, with 2 coffees already in hand, and held one out before I could say anything. I observed a pattern, she said. What pattern? Saturday sessions, medium drip, black. Same thing every week. She looked ahead at the entrance. Don't read into it. I won't, I said. And did not mention that I had been paying attention to the specific green tea tin she always brought to the studio, with the small metal tag on the string, and that I had started looking for that tin tag on the table when I came in as a way of knowing whether she was already there. The market was loud and warm inside the warehouse space. We moved slowly. She had opinions, specific and honest, about everything we stopped to look at. She'd stand in front of a piece without speaking, and then say things short and exact that contained everything necessary and nothing that wasn't. At one stoneware booth, she was quiet for nearly 3 minutes. Then, the forms are good. The glazing is inconsistent. They're pricing for the forms. Is that a problem? Depends what you're buying for, how it looks or how it holds up. Which do you choose? She picked up a small bowl and turned it over. Both if I can find it. If I have to pick, she set it down, lasting. I bought the bowl. She looked at me. You didn't have to. I know, I wanted it. She watched me hand over the card, then quietly, you do that a lot. What? Say you wanted something, like that's the whole reason. It is the whole reason. She was quiet. We moved to the next booth. Her hand bumped mine in the crowd, and this time I caught it, just held it. She looked down at our hands, then didn't look away. We stayed until they turned the lights up at closing. 3 months later, Saturday morning, Tillamook Street Studio. She was at the wheel when I came in. I could tell from 10 feet away that the piece was giving her trouble. She was pulling from the outside, which was wrong, and she knew it was wrong. Her jaw had that set. She looked up when I put my bag down. Don't. I wasn't going to say anything. You were going to say I'm pulling from the wrong place. You're pulling from the wrong place. She sat back and looked at the lopsided cylinder. I know. I walked over, stood behind her. Can I show you something? She handed me the sponge. I reached past her, got my hands wet, and showed her where to start. Inside, slow and even, feel for center before asking the clay to go anywhere. She watched my hands without moving. You've gotten better, she said. I've had something to show up for. I haven't taught you anything. You taught me that if something's off-center, you stop and fix it instead of building around the problem. I stepped back and let her take over. Go slow. She pressed in from the inside. The cylinder began to even out, steadier, then the wall coming up true. Up, I said quiet. You've got it. She pulled the clay up to the rim and set her hands still. We both looked at it. There, she said. There, I said. She turned on the stool. The studio moved around us the way it always did. Wheels humming, someone's phone playing low, the smell of wet clay and the radiator ticking in the corner. Her hair was tucked back, and there was a smear of slip along her forearm she hadn't noticed yet. When did you start talking like that? She asked. Like what? Like you mean every word. I looked at her. I think I always meant things. I was just quiet about them. And now? Now I have a reason to say them. She reached up and pressed 2 fingers lightly to my chest, the way she had outside her parents' kitchen in the dark. Like she was checking whether I was still there. Whether what was between us was the kind of thing that held weight. I put my hand over hers. It was. What would you have done if the person you'd been watching from across the room for months finally gave you a real reason to cross it? I'd like to know. Tell me in the comments. And if you've been here for a while, we have a membership where shorter stories go out every week. Just the quiet ones worth sitting with. If this one landed, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.